What is up, my fellow gamers out there? Today we have to talk about an important RPG. This is Golden Sun on the Game Boy Advance. And what I mean by important is that this was the very first portable RPG which offered a deep level, like really console-like experience. Because back in 2001, before Game Boy Advance has been released, you had the Game Boy, you had the Game Boy Color, Game Gear was around, and a few other handhelds, but none of them could offer this kind of RPG depth. And yeah, I don't know if you guys remember the commercials back in the early 2000s for Game Boy Advance. They advertised it as the first true console-like experience on the go, and yes, it was true. Game Boy Advance was a fantastic system with absolutely memorable titles and really truly like console experience on the go. And back in 2001 I had a white normal Game Boy Advance, not the SP version, and I remember that on the message boards, if you remember guys those things, everybody was keep writing, oh, you have to try Golden Sun, it's absolutely fantastic and it's a must play. And back then I was not really into RPGs, but because the game was good, I just put it on my backlog that one day I'm going to play it. So 25 years later, it was the time for me to try Golden Sun and to see how it holds up and if it's really worth playing. And I'm happy to report it, yes, it is definitely worth playing. It's a very solid RPG. It's very well made, like a steak, and it's really offers that quality experience on the go, which was, if I think about it, to playing back this in 2001 with the option to save anywhere, anytime, and just turn off the Game Boy Advance is absolutely fantastic. Because back then, like sleep mode wasn't really available on the consoles. So I don't want to delay anymore the start of the review. I just want to say that this is a really good game. But let's start the video, and I'm going to tell you everything about the Golden Sun and why is it still worth playing today. Let's get started. When people talk about the best RPGs on the Game Boy Advance, Golden Sun is almost always part of that conversation. And after spending time with it myself, I can absolutely see why it earned that reputation. What surprised me the most is that this is not a game that tries to overwhelm you with complexity or constantly impress you with flashy mechanics, but instead focuses on being consistently well designed across the board, which results in an experience that feels smooth, balanced, and simply enjoyable from beginning to end. Golden Sun was released in 2001 for the Game Boy Advance and was developed by Camelot Software Planning, a studio that already had experience with RPG systems through their earlier work, including titles connected to the Shining Force series. With Golden Sun, their goal was clearly to create something that felt like a full-scale console RPG, but specifically designed around the limitations and strengths of a handheld device, which at the time was a very ambitious idea. Portable systems were not really known for delivering long, deep RPG experiences that you could carry with you everywhere. So, the fact that Golden Sun managed to deliver a complete and polished adventure in this format was a big deal, and it played a major role in shaping how people viewed handheld RPGs going forward. The story follows a group of young guys who can harness elemental powers known as Psynergy as they become involved in a larger conflict surrounding ancient forces, powerful elements, and a world that is slowly being pushed forward toward imbalance and potential destruction. They have to collect crystals which represent the main elements of the world to avoid a huge disaster. I know what you are thinking right now, yes, we've seen this before and it is not a really unique idea, but the story is not boring and I wouldn't call it a cliché. While the overall premise fits comfortably between the classic RPG territory, what stood out to me is how the story is presented. Because instead of relying heavily on long cutscenes or constant dialogue, the game keeps things relatively restrained, allowing you to move forward without frequent interruptions. For some who loves long conversations between the characters, this could be a problem. However, myself, I'm not a big fan of long conversations in games, so this was not a problem for me. This approach definitely keeps the pacing smooth and avoids the problem of overly long dialogue sequences, but at the same time, I occasionally found myself wishing for a bit more interaction between characters, as the journey can feel slightly too quiet in places where a bit more personality or conversations could have added more depth. One of the strongest aspects of Golden Sun is how well the overall gameplay flow is handled. because the encounter rate feels just rightly balanced in a way that keeps you engaged without constantly interrupting exploration, and the battles themselves are quick enough that they never become a burden. Another major positive is that the game does not force you into grinding, since by simply progressing naturally through the story and exploring the world, your party levels up at a pace that is more than sufficient for most encounters and boss fights, which makes the experience feel fair and respectful of your time. There were only a few times when I had to grind a bit to get enough gold for the new gear, but that amount of grinding is absolutely fine. There are some annoyances though, such as the need to manually advance battle text by keep pressing a button, which you will definitely notice during longer sessions, but these issues are relatively minor compared to how smooth and enjoyable the overall gameplay loop is. The exploration in Golden Sun strikes a very nice balance between freedom and guidance, as the game allows you to move through its world at your own pace while still subtly directing you toward your next objective, which means you rarely feel lost or confused about where to go next. I really enjoy this, as I hate in old school RPGs when I'm just wandering around trying to find out where the hell I'm supposed to go next. Yes, I'm looking at you early Dragon Quest games. Golden Sun has puzzles as well, which are another highlight of the game, particularly because how they incorporate synergy abilities into the environment, allowing you to move objects, manipulate elements, and interact with the world in ways that go beyond simple navigation. These puzzles are creative enough to keep things interesting, but they never reach the point of becoming frustrating or overly complex, which makes them a great addition to the overall experience without slowing down the pacing. When I say that this is a highlight of the game, I really mean it, as they are giving some variety and they are not overwhelming. One of the most unique and defining mechanics in Golden Sun is the Djinn System, which adds a surprising amount of depth to both character progression and combat without making things overly complicated. Djinn, which you can think of as elemental genies, are collectible creatures that can be assigned to your characters, and each one provides stat boosts, influences your character's class, and unlock different abilities depending on how they are configured. What makes this system particularly interesting is the flexibility it offers, because you are not logged into a single setup and you can experiment with different combinations of djinns to create characters that behave very differently in battle, whether you want to focus on offense, defense, or support roles. On top of that, djinns can also be used in combat to trigger powerful summon abilities, but doing so temporarily removes their passive benefits, which creates a meaningful trade-off between immediate power and long-term stability during battles. This constant decision making adds a strategic layer to combat that feels engaging without being overwhelming, and it is one of the main reasons why Golden Sun stands out from other RPGs of its time. From a presentation standpoint, Golden Sun is still impressive, with detailed pixel art, expressive environments, and some beautifully crafted scenes that push the Game Boy Advance hardware further than you might expect. The game also includes several quality of life features that makes the experience more enjoyable, such as the ability to save anytime and anywhere, which was especially important on a system that did not have a sleep or suspend function. Additionally, when purchasing new equipment, the game immediately offers you to equip it and even sell your old gear, which streamlines inventory management and removes unnecessary steps that often slow down other RPGs. At the time of its release, Golden Sun was very well received by both critics and players, who praised its visuals, its music, and the sheer amount of content and depth it managed to deliver on the handheld system. Over the years, it has built a strong and loyal fanbase, and for many players, it represents their first experience with a truly deep and engaging RPG that they could carry with them anywhere, which gives it a special place in gaming history. Going back to Golden Sun today, what stands out the most is not a single groundbreaking feature, but rather how well everything comes together to create a cohesive and enjoyable experience. It does not try to overwhelm you, it does not rely on gimmicks, and it does not demand excessive time or effort just to progress. It is just a simply well-made RPG that understands what it wants to be and executes it with confidence, and sometimes that is exactly what makes a game stand the test of time. So, the question is, should you play Golden Sun on the Game Boy Advance? Definitely, yes, this game is very worth playing. It's not going to be you're not going to find it really revolutionary or really fantastic experience, but what it does very well. As I mentioned, the encounter rate is just perfect. It's not too much, and it just that on the balance, which is let you explore but keep fighting as well. It's just a perfect amount. And what I really enjoy that you don't have to grind. It's because the leveling is the natural progress of the system of the game is just perfect. There were a few times when I had to grind a bit just to get gold for a better gear, but that was absolutely fine. That was not just for hours, just like keep pressing and just so it was absolutely good. The story, I enjoyed the story as well. As I mentioned in the review, we can call it a bit cliche, and it's not going to have any kind of jaw-dropping moments, but it's a fine story. And the puzzles as well, they are also very good. They're offering a bit of variety in the gameplay. So when you had enough of the fighting and the exploring, there is going to be some kind of puzzle. And what is really important, that those puzzles are not going to frustrate you, and they are not like that difficult. You have to think a bit which synergy you're going to use to solve the puzzle, or how you're going to move the statues or the rocks, but it's absolutely fine. So Golden Sun is definitely worth playing, and the good news is it has a sequel as well on the Game Boy Advance, so I'm going to play that one as well in the future. So yes, if you like these kind of old school RPG experiences, definitely give Golden Sun a try, because this is a fantastic game. And don't worry about the graphics. I know it's pixelated, it's old school, but we are playing retro here, and as I mentioned many times, what matters is the gameplay experience, how you feel and how you enjoy the game, not how the game looks like. We could bring many examples when the graphics is fantastic but the gameplay is bad and just boring. So yes, if you have an old Game Boy Advance lying around, or if you can emulate it or play it like any kind of way, definitely give Golden Sun a try. And I thank you for watching this video, and I'm interested in your comments. If you played it back then, or what was your general experience with Golden Sun, let me know in the comments below. And I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'm going to see you in the next backlog quest. Bye bye.